Yeah, you're recording now.
Okay. It's always an adventure. Okay, good morning, everybody. We're continuing in Gemara Brachos, Yud Dalet Amid Aleph, 14a. We are 3 lines from the bottom. Okay, our final aspect of the Mishnah, when we're discussing where you can interrupt, back in the halachic discussion of the Gemara, where you may make interruptions or not. So there was a machlokes, in one of the last chapters, when you say Ani Hashem Elokeichem, do you stop that? Hashem Elokeichem is the end of the 3rd paragraph of the Shema. You look in the Torah by the Parsha Tzitzis and Parsha Shlach. It ends off Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Then we start the bracha of Emes V'Yatziv. Okay, so then there was a discussion, was the break in between the chapters after Ani Hashem Elokeichem, and that's the end of that chapter. And then you can break, and then you say Emes V'Yatziv, or you have Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, says, no, you don't interrupt between Hashem Elokeichem and then Emes V'Yatziv. That was the machlokas, if you can interrupt in between that words. So now we're going to have a psak halacha. Amar Rabba Bo, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba Bo says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar, who he said in the Mishnah, Bein Elokeichem le'emes v'yatziv lo yafsik. Between the word Elokeichem, which is the end of that 3rd paragraph of the Shema, and then next words of the final bracha after the Shema that begins with the words emes v'yatziv, lo yafsik, you are not allowed to interrupt. And that's how we paskin, that you must finish the word and say the word emes. And Amar Abo, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Abo, the name of Rabbi Yochanan says, my time with Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda that you're not allowed to interrupt between the last word of the Shema and the word emes? Tichsiv, because it says in the Navi, going on to the top of Yud Dalet Amud Beis, this is the Navi Yirmiyahu, who says, Hashem Eloikim Emes. When Yirmiyahu discusses Hashem, he says Hashem, the God, is true. So you see, when he discussed Hashem, he connected Hashem to Elokim, to Emes, because Hashem is true. So we always connect Hashem to that description of being truthful, and therefore we don't interrupt, even with a pause in between them. Okay? And look at point 3 over there. It says, where the Navi, Rambam writes that this pasuk, the Navi, is teaching us the objective reality of God's existence. So we have to connect Hashem to the emes, because his whole seal is emes, and therefore he has to be described as emes. So we pass on Yehuda, and you have to say emes. Okay, now that we've said that, now we come to a new question. If I have to connect, so when I'm saying my Shema, Hashem Elokeichem Emes, but the question then becomes, but really, okay, so I've finished the Shema, so I said Hashem Elokeichem. Okay, and I gotta connect the word emes, which begins the final bracha, the post bracha of the Kriya Shema. So now that I've done that, but should I have to say the word emes again, as now this is starting that new bracha, to which the Gemara now asks, Choser va'omer emes, do I go back and repeat the word emes? O eina choser va'omer emes, or do I have to repeat the word emes? Now, what's the question? This is the situation. The question applies only where one completed the Shema with the word emes and then paused before beginning the next paragraph. And they're going to ask, why is he pausing? Why doesn't he just go? Well, remember, this is in between the chapters at some point. So let's say you have to greet someone you fear, or wait for the Chazan to complete the Shema. Remember, we have to wait and hear the Chazan say, Hashem Elokeichem Emes. Remember, we only have, the reason we wait for the Chazan is we have to say 248 words in the entire Shema. From the word Shema Yisrael till the end, you have to say 248 words. Well, there's a problem. There's only 244 words in the Shema. So that's not a problem. We're going to add the word emes. That's not part of the Shema. So it gets up to 245. So what do? I'll have to wait and hear the Chazan say those three words, Hashem Elokeichem emes, and now I've got 248. Okay, so that's why I'm waiting to hear the Chazan, 248. So now you guys are all going to ask, but we're not hearing the Chazan now. There is no Chazan Shul now that we're davening home alone. What do? Therefore, we have those three words, Kel Melech Ne'eman, in the small print before you start the Shema. Whenever you say the Shema alone without a minyan, you're supposed to say those three words, Kel Melech Ne'eman. So although when you've been in Shul, you haven't ever said those words, but when you say at home, you say those three words, Kel Melech Ne'eman. So that gives you 248, one way or the other, when you're alone or in Shul. Parenthetically, if you're the Chazan, let me just say one more thing, then I'll take questions. Parenthetically, if you are the Chazan, you're only saying 200 in Shul, you're only saying 245 words. So therefore the Chazan, when he is saying the Shema to himself, he's supposed to say Hashem Elokeichem emes. Then when the congregation's ready, he repeats, and he says twice now. He says Hashem Elokeichem emes. So the Chazan has 248 as well. It's important. A lot of Chazanim don't realize that. They just wait until before the last three words, and then they say the last words. That's incorrect. You have to Chazan say the entire Shema with Hashem Elokeichem emes, and then when the congregation quiets down, he says again out loud Hashem Elokeichem emes. Okay, and so now in our case over here, so we've waited for the Chazan. The Chazan has said Hashem Elokeichem emes. We hear that. So now that I've said emes, now that I'm going to start the second bracha, the final bracha, do I start with the word emes v'yatziv or just start with the yatziv? Okay, any questions?
Yeah, one, Rabbi. But when we're in Shul, the Chazan says the last three words, he repeats them. But the people in the Shul, they're not saying 248, they're saying 245 and listening to the last three.
So we have a rule that listening is like saying, Shomea Koine. If you listen, it's like you're saying it. That's the rule. There's a rule, Shomea Koine. When you listen, it's like you have responded.
Yeah, but if you could extend that and say, I'll listen to the repetition of the Shemona Esrei, and it's like I said it.
No, because the Amida, well, if a person can say what he's supposed to say, he says what he's supposed to say, right? You say what you can say. But the Chazan, he has a special, a special position. For example, everyone says their own Amida. Everyone says their own Amida. The Chazan's going to say two Amidas. Why is he saying two Amidas? The Gemara gives two answers. Either A, there are some people in the Shul who was three reasons. There are some people in the Shul who are illiterate and don't know how to say it. So he repeats it out loud for those who don't know how to say it. The second point is when you do a repetition, you could say Kedusha and Amida. And there's a third interpretation that says that there's a level where one says the Amida, and as a congregate, you reach a higher level that after you say the Amida, you even listen to the Amida without saying the Amida. So you see that the Chazan does say more than the congregation because he takes on a bigger responsibility. So just like you find that by the Amida, so you can find that by the Shema, where you only have to say the Shema, but there's this added thing that you should say 248 words. So therefore, since the Chazan always, tells us where we should be keeping up with, so there's no need to have everybody say it again. Just like there's no need for everybody to repeat the Shemona Esrei a second time. So that's why we have him have us say that, just like having many other things, brachas on the Megillah. Chazan says the brachas on the Megillah, we listen. So there are a number of things that a Chazan says to, so to speak, help out the congregation or fulfill the congregation. And part of that is, we all have to be at the same place. and we're davening together. So when we're gonna hear the chazan anyway say it, so therefore that discharges our obligation, and no need to say that again.
So how do we know? How do we know that we have to say 248 words?
That's a Kabbalah. That's a Kabbalah we have. Because we have 248 positive mitzvahs, we have 248 body organs, and the Shema corresponds to each one of those 248. So that's like a Kabbalistic understanding. The base mitzvah is to say the 3 chapters of the Shema. But since there's this added way to fulfill the mitzvah with the 3 extra words, so we get that done by the chazan discharging us with that.
So should the chazan have in mind he's saying those 3 words on behalf of everybody, like when you say a bracha on behalf of everybody?
Just like when he's doing the repetition of the Amida, he should be having that.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so he should have in mind that he's doing that for everybody else. Yes,
okay.
For sure. Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. Let's move on. So now we're back to our Shiloh. We're back to our Shiloh now. Okay, so now all of us congregants, we have said Hashem Elokeichem Emes. We're waiting for the Chazan. The Chazan says it. Now we're going to start up our next bracha. So where do we start from? Do we start from Emes V'Yatziv and repeat the word Emes? Or just V'Yatziv V'Nachon and just continue from V'Yatziv? That is the question now in the Gemara. So let's get back to the normal text. Amar Rabba Yochanan. So Rabba Yochanan says, Choser va'omer emes. He must repeat the word emes. Rabba says, Eino choser va'omer emes. He does not repeat the word emes. Okay. So now we're going to have, and that's how we paskin. We paskin that we do not repeat the word emes. Once we said it once, we don't have to say it again. And we said from V'Yatziv V'Nachon. Now we're going to have a story to back it up. Hahu denochis kamei de Rabba. So this is based on Rabba's opinion that we just said. So there was a certain chazan who went to pray in front of the ark. He was the chazan in front of Rabba's minyan. And Rabba heard the chazan say the following: Shamei Rabba de Omar emes trei zimne. He heard the chazan say the word emes twice. He said, Ani Hashem Elokeichem emes, and then he said emes v'yatziv. So he heard him say emes twice. So Amar Rabba said to him, Call emes tavsilahai. This guy is like seized by an MS attack. You know what I mean? Like he's just caught, repeating MS. And he's criticizing him. He's saying he shouldn't be doing this. So what's the comment over here? So Rav objected to the fact that the prayer leader repeated only the word true. Now here's 2 points over here. Her repeating the entire phrase, as we already told you before, Hashem Elokeichem Emes, which is customary done by prayer leaders today, is permitted. So, in other words, he, over there, the guy only said Hashem Elokeichem Emes and Emes. So, I guess this was before the custom evolved to say Hashem Elokeichem Emes twice or whatever. But he didn't say it. But he just said Hashem Elokeichem Emes V'Yatziv. So he did it even without a pause. So he said that's not proper. You don't have to say Hashem is true twice. Okay, once you say he's true, he's true. You don't have to say he's true twice. Now, based on our custom that we have to say the 3 extra words, that wasn't the issue in Rabba's times. So over here, they bring that issue. So therefore, he said you shouldn't just say emes twice, and that's incorrect. Okay, now that we're talking about chazanim, so now we have to discuss whether you're obliged to recite the 3rd portion of the Shema in the evening. We're now shifting gears a little bit. So Amar Rav Yosef says, Kama Malya Hashmaita, how excellent is the following teaching. The Asa Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Amar, when Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he said the following teaching. Amri b'marava arvis. They say in Eretz Yisrael at night the following abbreviated section of the last section of the Shema. Remember, we had a machlokes long ago in the Mishnahs, if there's an obligation to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim at night. There's a machlokas. We had the Chachamim and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. That's going to be in the Seder. A machlokas, if you have to say Yetzias Mitzrayim at night, and that makes a difference. You have to say the third paragraph of the Shema at night. So came along Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. He said, well, in Eretz Yisrael, when we daven Mariv, which means when we deal with the Shema, and specifically with the third paragraph of the Shema at night, this is what we were doing in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, remember how that third paragraph starts. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe lemor, daber b'nei Yisrael v'amart aleim v'asulahem tzitzis. Go speak to the Jewish people and tell them to put on tzitzis, blah, 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 all the way until Hashem Elokeichem emes. Okay, so this is what they said in Eretz Yisrael. I'm prefacing this because it's going to be very unusual. You're going to go, huh? But this is what they said in Eretz Yisrael. They started it off, Vayidaber Hashem Moshe lemor, obviously. And then, see, he brings you the whole thing over here. Here's the footnote, so you don't have to leave it to the imagination over here. There he tells you the third section starts. Blah, 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 blah. So what they said was, Daber b'nei Yisrael, v'amarta aleihem, speak to Jewish people and say, Ani Hashem Elokeichem emes. They skipped the entire middle part of the third paragraph of the Shema. Ani Hashem Elokeichem emes. So what was going on over there? So the commentators explain. In Eretz Yisrael, in the evening Shema recital, they omitted the verses dealing with the mitzvah tzitzis, since the mitzvah is not operative in the evening. Rather, recital in the first few words of the section, skip the middle verses that mention tzitzis, concluded with the last few words, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, and they went on to complete the next bracha of the Shema. So now, the Gemara is not going to discuss this, but the commentaries ask the following question. We already learned earlier in this Masechta, you're not allowed to divide any section of the Torah that Moshe did not divide. Moshe gave us the whole third section of the Shema. You can't just cut and paste lines out of the Torah, right? And the Gemara Megillah is taught that we can't divide any verse that Moshe didn't divide. So how could they do that? They're dividing the whole third section up and cutting it up into bits. So the Ritva answers that there is a pasuk in Vayikra identical to this verse completely. So therefore, it's not like they're saying the third chapter of the Shema. They're saying the pasuk in Vayikra. There it is. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'amart aleim ani Hashem Elokeichem. That's a pasuk in Vayikra. That's in Parshas Achrei Mos. So they really were saying a pasuk. It just so happens that it's exactly identical to that part of the Shema. So therefore, in Eretz Yisrael, now they don't discuss, so therefore that's what they said. They don't have to mention the mitzvah of tzitzis. So therefore they just said that. The only question is that I would ask, I don't know what the answer is, what did you gain by saying that at all? If you just say Hashem is the true God, I mean, you didn't talk about tzitzis, you didn't talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim, so why bother saying the third paragraph at all? And we'll see. Moore's going to ask maybe a better question. But anyway, so that's what he brought back. He said, in Eretz Yisrael, that's how we daven the third paragraph of the Shema. So when they heard that, Amalei Abai, so Abai asked at him, so what's the excellence of this teaching? What's so great about this teaching? First of all, I have a criticism of that. Rav Kahana Rav said, regarding this chapter, Lo Yaskil, in the evening, you shouldn't even begin the third section. He holds, don't even say it. There's no reason to say it. Don't even start it. But he also says, but if you are going to start it, Gomer, finish it. In other words, either yo nish nish. Either you're going to acknowledge that you should mention the Yetzias Mitzrayim at night, or you say, so then say the whole thing. And if you say you should, you don't have to mention it, then you don't have to say anything. So either you start it and you finish it, or you don't start it at all. You don't do it. So then how is it that they're omitting the middle verses? Now you may want to say the following answer, which Gemara is going to reject. V'chi tema. And if you're going to say, well, we really didn't start it, because all we said was, Daber b'nei Yisrael v'amarta aleihem. So guess what? And maybe you want to say, maybe if I just say that one line, it's not even considered beginning the third portion. So therefore, I don't have to finish it. It's not so. If I'm Rav Shmuel Bar Yisrael, I'm a Rav. Rav Shmuel Yisrael is the name of Rav. Daber b'nei Yisrael l'havi Yisrael. If you only say Daber b'nei Yisrael, you're right. That's not a beginning. But if you say V'amart aleim and say to them havi Yisrael, that's considered the beginning of the third portion. So then you'd have to complete it. So now the people in Yisrael, they say those words. Daber v'amart aleim, say to them. So how are they allowed to omit it? In other words, we have a rule. Once you start the section, you got to finish it. And it seems in Eretz they're starting the section and they're not finishing. They're skipping the whole thing. So what's the answer? Some Rav Papa says, because some Rav, I guess the people in Eretz they have a different opinion about what starting is considered. And they hold that even if you just say and say to them, that's also not considered a beginning. Ad the Amar, until you actually really say something, that's the guts of the section, which is Vasulahem tzitzis, and they shall make tzitzis. That's when it's really called starting it. So therefore, the people in Eretz Yisrael didn't have to finish it because they never really said those words. You should make tzitzis. Now let's take a look at this. Well, he's telling you where it's outer commentary. Anyway, so that's why they felt it was what do you call it? It was not a start. For Eretz Yisrael, it's like they didn't start. So therefore, Abaye says, Amar Abaye. So therefore, Eretz Yisrael, they consider like they didn't start it. But now we're talking about the Jews in Bavel who rule that if you say V'amarta Alehem, if you say to them, speak to the Jews, that is considered a start. So Abaye says, Hilkach Anan Askuli Maschilon. Therefore, we in Bavel who say that we started like that, right? So since we say the third portion of that thing, so just as they begin in the West, right? So since we started that way, the Kiva Das Chalina, since we started Migbar Nami Gamrinan, we finish it and we complete the whole thing as he read.
Did you freeze? The rabbi froze.
Yeah.
At least he finished at the end of the pasuk.
Yeah.
He'll be back. It goes through bandwidth problems.
What?
You're back.
Sorry, Rabbi. There was a bandwidth problem. You froze for a minute.
Yeah,
20 seconds.
I just got a sign that said it was unstable. Okay, now we're okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So now, final part over here. Chia bar Abba, Chia bar Rav Amar, Chia, the son of Rav, says, Amar, if in the evening you said, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, if you say those last words, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, as well, even in the evening, Tzarech Lomar Emes, you have to say Emes, because it's the same thing. One is Emes V'Yatziv, and one is Emes V'Nachon, and one is Emes V'Yatziv, or Emes V'Amuna. So you have to say Emes as well. Now, what if Lo Amar Ani Hashem Elokeichem? What if he didn't say Ani Hashem Elokeichem? Okay, remember, if you didn't start the third section, you skipped the third section by Marav, then it's Tzarech Lomar, you don't have to say Emes. Wait a minute, so what do you mean you don't have to start Emes? That's the beginning of the new bracha. But wait a minute, don't you have to mention Egypt? You obviously have to mention the exodus of Egypt even in the evening. So how can you omit that entire third section? What are you telling me? If you didn't say, you don't say Emes. You got to say the third section because you got to talk about Egypt. So Gemara answers to Amar Hachi. You know what? You're right. If you don't say the third section of Shema, you'd have to say a little prayer to make up for that third section. And this is what you would say. We don't say this, but this will be the prayer. Modim anach loch Hashem Elokeinu. We give thanks to Hashem our God. Shotzei Sodom Eretz Mitzrayim. You took us out of Egypt. Upidi Sodom Beis Avadim, and you redeemed us from the house of servitude. Vasisolon anisim ukvuras al hayam. You did great miracles on the sea. v'sharanu l'cha, and we gave praises to you. And then you continue with the regular text of Micha Mocha, Bailim, Malchus Aronecha, blah, blah, all these things, Hashkivenu, etc., all these things. Okay, now again, the commentaries ask, like, so for that case, right, just say the third section of the Shema. So again, I don't have all my sperm with me to look up all these extra things over there. Okay, I guess it's a good place to stop because the next sec we added 2 dots. So tomorrow's issue, we're going to go back to the Mishnah where it says, Rabbi Shul ben Korpa says, Lama Kadma Parsha Shema. Why does the Shema, what's the order of the 3 paragraphs? So we're going to, if you recall, and we'll just do this part, and then tomorrow we'll pick up from this point. Remember, we learned in the Mishnah, why is the first paragraph the first one and the second one and the third one in that order when it's not really figuring the order that they are in the Torah? So he said the first section is to accept the yoke of heaven. Second section is to accept the yoke of mitzvahs. And the third is the mitzvah of tzitzis following that. So while the second one has mitzvahs of learning Torah, which are all day and all night, well, it's only in the day. That was what the Mishnah said. The Gemara now is going to give us more reasons why these 3 paragraphs are in that order. Okay. Have a good night. Have a good day. And we'll see you later. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Boker Tov.
Thank you.
Sei gesund. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.